The following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
The last time Congressman Crowley spoke to us was almost 2 years ago, and obviously plenty has changed. There's never been a more critical time for strong leadership in Congress, in the House, within our country, and we know that Joe is the man to help us with all the issues that we face as our city, including state and local deductibility, immigration, sanctuary cities, all the things that are critical, including infrastructure. It's no wonder that Joe's track record has allowed him to reach across the aisles and focus on policy and politics. This has propelled him to be the chairman of the Democratic Caucus, and he sits on the critical Ways and Means Committee, where state and local tax deductibility will be discussed. First elected in 1998, Joe is currently serving his 10th term in Congress. He represents Queens and parts of the Bronx, and during his time in Congress, Joe has consistently focused on efforts on building strong communities, creating jobs, increasing access to health care and housing, protecting seniors, and opening up educational opportunities for working families. Joe, thank you for your incredible leadership, and welcome back to ABNY, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Joe Crowley.
Thank you, Billy. It's great to be back here at ABNY. It has been just a couple of years. For decades, ABNY and the Rudin family in particular have been at the forefront of standing up for New York and for New Yorkers at the state, the city, and at the federal level. In many ways, the more things change, the more they stay the same. About 30 years ago, with then Republican President Reagan, pushed forward a tax reform bill. And then Lou Rudin mobilized an effort to protect New York's priorities, as Bill just mentioned, for instance, like deductibility of state and local taxes. So as we face a sense of deja vu all over again, I'm glad once again to be here with the Rudins and so many of New York's leaders committed to stand for a strong New York. As Bill mentioned, the last time I spoke here was 2 years ago, back in 2015, and I was pretty optimistic back then. I told you all about the savings and retirement security plan that I was working on. And I admit I was looking ahead enthusiastically to the upcoming elections. I'm not going to lie to you. Well, some of my predictions were a little off. It turns out I was right that we'd have a New Yorker in the White House. It just wasn't the one I expected. Yes, Election Day was a tough day for many New Yorkers and for a whole lot of Democrats. But despite that, New York is still very well positioned in Washington. I just want to touch on that a bit. New York City and our delegation has two great new members, Adriano Espiat, who's here this morning. Thank you, Adriano, for bringing your expertise from the state legislature to Washington. I don't believe Tom Swazi is here from Long Island, but he also represents part of Queens as well now. So we welcome Tom, former county executive of Nassau County, to the House, and he's doing a great job. Senator Chuck Schumer is now the U.S. Senate Democratic leader. And I was elected by my colleagues to the position of caucus chair, making me the fourth highest ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives today. So there's no doubt that the voice of New York is represented loudly, clearly, and effectively. We saw that on display just these past few weeks in the fight to keep the government open something we used to take for granted. But Chuck, along with Anita Lowy, were key players in developing an appropriations package that included a whole lot of wins for New York and for New York City. It included vital investments in our homeland security programs and reimbursement to local law enforcement for those security costs. We know they were under threat. It also maintained funding for transportation and infrastructure programs, health and scientific research, higher education, community investment grants, all key programs for growth and success, not only here in New York, but throughout our nation. There's no doubt that Chuck and Anita's fingerprints were all over the final agreement, and their hard work made our delegation incredibly proud. That's why we supported that omnibus bill. But it's also important to keep in mind that Congress' most basic and fundamental job is to fund government. And it's been a very long time since Congress has completed the appropriations process without taking it literally to the brink of a shutdown. It's not good governance. It also doesn't leave a lot of bandwidth for Congress to tackle the bigger items. And that's really troubling to me because I believe that government can do good things. It can do big things. We just need to do them. I believe strongly that there is a value to government and to governing, that our government agencies and programs can make a difference in the lives of ordinary Americans. That at its best, government can be both aspirational and inspirational. And I don't think that's a worldview that is necessarily limited to one of the two parties. I don't think there's any doubt in this room that I am an incredibly proud Democrat. But I know that many of my Republican colleagues agree that we have a responsibility to make the necessary investment to ensure America remains a role model for the rest of the world. To keep our nation a 21st century country. That means building up our infrastructure, investing in roads and bridges and tunnels that not only create jobs but show pride in our communities. We're seeing that right here in New York right now. Like with this bridge boom we see going on. I love it. Impressive new bridges that will not just improve the quality of life, but show that we can take pride in what we have built. And with the revitalization of LaGuardia Airport, which is in my district, I know it's causing a lot of problems for folks, but we'll get there. We'll get there. It will keep New York the first-rate city that we all expect this great city to be. I want to give a special thanks to my friend, Governor Cuomo, for his vision. For his vision, but not only for his vision on just these particular projects statewide, but for recognizing the importance of investing in our state's infrastructure. I know Pat Foy's here from the Port Authority. I know Lisa Scully is here from LaGuardia Airport as well. They don't get a lot of shout-outs back home, so I'm here in Manhattan. I feel a little safe, so I can say we do appreciate, Lisa, all the work that you do. A 21st century country also means investing in our education system so that our students of today can become the engineers and the entrepreneurs and the medical professionals of tomorrow. And I'm so proud to see the president of my alma mater, Queens College, here today. Where's Felix Matos? Where are you? Thank you, Mr. President, for all you're doing at Queens. You make me proud. And it means having an immigration system that works not just for America as we are now, but for the America that we want to be. We're not a closed-door nation. That's not who we are. That's not who we've ever been. There's no question that I'm pretty progressive on that's an understatement, on the issue of immigration reform. I know firsthand what value immigrants bring to our cities, to our communities, and to our country. I was raised in a working-class family in Queens, New York. My little brother Sean is here today. Hello, Shawnee. All four of our grandparents were immigrants. My dad was the oldest of 7 children, who first became a New York City cop, then went on to college and to law school on the GI Bill. My mom, the daughter of immigrants and an immigrant herself, she never went to college, but she worked as a legal secretary and raised 4 great kids. 1 great kid. Sorry, Shawnee. And she gave us every opportunity that she could. She's one of the smartest people I've ever known. And she and my father went on to raise, as I said, 4 successful children: a teacher, a small business owner, an attorney, and a member of Congress, all of whom are committed to their community and love this great city and love our country. But my family's experience, frankly, is not unique. We always thought we were. We weren't. Immigrants have been the backbone of so many of our country's great successes. Democrats have long acknowledged that some changes are needed in our immigration policies, but we have also advocated that it needs to be done in a comprehensive way, taking steps that will bring people out of the shadows, that will crack down on dishonest employers, and make sure a smart investment is made in our border security. We understand all that. This administration, though, and this president, however, they're not attempting a comprehensive approach. President Trump, I believe, just wants to shut the doors, regardless of what that will mean for the future of our nation. I think I can speak on behalf of most of us in this room. I won't take the liberty of saying all. This kind of absolutist approach will not make America stronger, and it certainly will not make us a safer nation. Instead, the one thing it might do is lock out the next Albert Einstein or the next Steve Jobs. The reality is, there's a lot of room for bipartisan agreement on reforming our immigration system. We have to come together to make that happen. We just need our majority right now and this president to be willing to acknowledge that and engage in the center and find real practical solutions. This is also the case with health care reform. Democrats have long said Obamacare was not the end all. We never pretended that it was. We actually said when it was first enacted that some changes and adjustments might, in all likelihood, would have to be made along the way. But instead of seeking the middle ground, the Republican majority and the Trump administration sought out the far-right voices. That was on display last week when the House capped off a long few months of dramatic efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act by finally passing, I think, one of the worst pieces of legislation, process-wise and content-wise, I've ever seen on the House floor in my 19 years. I have to say, I think my Republican colleagues wound up losing sight of what they wanted in the health care debate. They got caught up in fulfilling a political promise to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act and forgot their moral promise, a promise that ought to be to lift all people up. One of my good friends in the House, Congressman Joe Kennedy of Massachusetts, made this point, I think, better than anyone else during that debate. He spoke so passionately about how we must care for the weakest amongst us, that government must be led by example and create a platform that will allow all Americans to succeed, not just empower and strengthen the ones who already are fortunate. If you haven't seen that floor speech, you have to see it. It's amazing. I actually just saw Joe last weekend when I had the great fortune to be in Boston at the JFK Library for the presentation of the Profiles and Coverage Award to President Barack Obama. The president was terrific, as always, calling for courage on health care, recognizing the members of Congress who knew very well in their casting their vote for the Affordable Care Act that they would lose their seats, and many of them did, and he recognized their profile and courage. But that's what we need right now. We need courage. As I said before, the Affordable Care Act wasn't the end-all. It never was. And it's been implemented. It's become clear that we do need to make improvements and changes to it. Places where we should strengthen customer protections and draw more healthy people into the market. That's what insurance is all about, to help keep those premiums down. But strengthening the law will require Republicans and Democrats to work together and have some tough conversations. And unfortunately, the Republicans' plan that passed last week has no cure-all for the Affordable Care Act. Instead, it will inflict pain on New York, on our hospitals, particularly our rural hospitals, on our state's budget, but most importantly, and sadly, it will inflict pain on New Yorkers, the people themselves. It didn't have to be like this, and it still doesn't have to be like this. And I hope it won't continue to be like this. There's no doubt that as a candidate, Donald Trump really struck a chord with a lot of people in this country, people who are hurting. He acknowledged and spoke to a real truth, which is that a lot of people have felt left behind by their government, regardless of party. He tapped into that frustration and led many people to believe he would set government on a new course, that he would lead without being beholden to party or politics, that he'd be a new leader, one focused on getting things done and being the great deal maker that he says he is. But to date, the populism that carried him into office has not been a guiding force for his actions as president. Had it been, he might have considered reaching out to Democrats once he got into office and tried to find ways to work with us. Had he done so on an issue like health care, for instance, we might have had a very different outcome than we saw last week. For me, the Trump presidency has left me in a somewhat strange place. I don't think I speak alone for that. I've always prided myself on being able to work productively across the aisle. Most of my first decade in Congress was spent with then George W. Bush in the White House, and I disagreed with him on just about everything, strenuously at times. But we were able to find areas where we could work together. For instance, like on foreign assistance and foreign aid, the PEP Act. I was the lead Democrat in the House on the civilian nuclear transfer deal with India. In fact, President Bush sent me to India to convince the Indian government that it was a bipartisan bill. They didn't believe it. Because for me, it's not all about party line. It's been about making good policy, good judgments, as best we can. We don't always get it right. So I could work with the Bush administration to get things done, because the White House and Congress working together is the only way to get anything done and to accomplish things. President Obama recognized that when we passed the Affordable Care Act in the first place, he worked productively with members of Congress, recognized their strengths and expertise, and listened to their thoughts. People forget we needed Republican support in the Senate to get it passed. And he tried hard to extend that to the other side of the aisle over and over again. I've said this to many of you before. I'm someone who takes great pride in my, if you can't tell, my personal family history. I'm unabashedly a proud Crowley and a proud Irish American. And there's no doubt I'm a very proud Democrat. I'm even a more proud New Yorker. But nothing takes the place of being an incredibly proud American. It's my job and my duty to put love of country first. It sounds trite, sounds a little goofy. Not in this day and age. And I take that to heart every day I'm in Washington. Quite frankly, every day I'm here. I can only hope that philosophy is the guiding force for this new administration. And yes, I am trying very hard to keep in mind that President Trump is still new at the job. He's still learning that there are two co-equal branches of government, for instance. And I would also suggest he still has time to change. One place I know that he tried, if he tried, he'd find an opportunity to work with Democrats is on tax reform, an issue of critical importance to this great city and our state, and an issue the President has already started to take action on. As many of you know, I do serve on the House Ways and Means Committee with jurisdiction on taxes. Tax reform is an issue I've been working hard on for many years, and an issue that I know the past presidents would have sought my direct input on. There are new issues that have such a significant impact on working families, on businesses, and our overall economic growth. So I hope the Trump administration will take a look at some of the tax ideas Democrats have and find ways to reach out to us and hear our thoughts on these issues. The fact is, tax reform not only happens once a generation, it happens once a generation because it is bipartisan. In the end, it must be done in a comprehensive way so families and working Americans who rely on some of these deductions, that they don't feel the pinch themselves. And that plan must be fair, simple, efficient, promote growth in the United States, and it must be fiscally responsible. We can do it in a way that lifts up the middle-class families who haven't seen a pay raise in 15 years, and ensures U.S. companies can compete with their global rivals so we can create jobs and prosperity right here in the United States. Regardless of how the Trump administration chooses to work or not with Democrats, I promise you, I am well positioned to give voice to what is important to our great city and our great state. For example, I will not support any bill that eliminates the mortgage home interest deduction, nor any bill that would eliminate the deduction of state and local taxes. It would be devastating to our state. It would be devastating to our state, and quite frankly, there are other ways to lower taxes. But the President's initial outline eliminated the deduction for state and local taxes paid, which would be devastating, as I said, to our economy and to middle-class families. I know you all know that, and that's why I will make sure your views will be heard in this debate. But even as we focus on protecting key provisions, I hope we can think big. I'd like to see tax reform also fund a large infrastructure package, not just highways and bridges, as we have with our own infrastructure governor, but also investing in broadband and internet and school construction and energy independence. We shouldn't pass up the opportunity to improve both our tax policy and our nation's policy at the same time. I also say that being from New York, we know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. That ought to be true for government as well. And that kind of focused effort is what we need now more than ever. We need to show the American people that we are working for them and that government can work for them. The next 2 years or 4 years will be interesting to say the least. Despite the challenges, I do remain optimistic that we can get things done. And it doesn't have to all be partisan or combative. I hope you all know me as someone who will work with almost anyone if we're working for the best interests of this great nation. But I will also never be shy about speaking up for what I believe in, or about speaking up for New York's priorities, or speaking up for the least amongst us. I'm excited to be helping to lead the House Democrats during this time, which gives me a critical seat at the table in discussions on these pressing issues, like health care, like the budget, and investing in our infrastructure. And I'm so proud to have such great relationships back home here in New York with people who are smart and engaged like yourselves. I do, Bill, just want to mention the elephant in the room that hasn't been mentioned yet. What's going to happen with Matt Harvey? I don't know. On a more serious note, though, in terms of what's happening at the FBI, I always thought that other things would lead to a constitutional crisis. I wasn't expecting this, but I do think that's where we're headed. And a lot of soul-searching, I think, particularly on my Republican colleague side, as to what's happening right now. The first two words, or one word, I don't know, it was cover up, one or two words, came to mind. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm deeply and gravely concerned about that. Say a little prayer for our country as well. We need it right now. Well, thank you all very much for having me.
Open up the door to a few questions.
With health care having gone through as a one-party bill, what do you see as the prospects for tax legislation now, being on Ways and Means, and do you think the Speaker will try and do it as well on a one-party basis, or will they have to come back to a bipartisan bill?
Kevin Brady, the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, met with House Democratic members of the committee on April 5th. He informed us, and he was very honest and very open about what their plan was, which was completely different from the President's proposal. It's a new way of negotiating. You start in the middle and you end up at the extremes, apparently. I don't know how that worked, but... and he also informed us that they intend to use reconciliation. They were going to, so we use reconciliation, you can use it once a year for the health care bill, but their intention is to use it for the 2018 budget debate. The Senate has indicated that they are not going to take up the 2018 budget resolution. So it's not congruent yet in terms of what will actually happen with that. But he made indication of that. Their plan is for those of you who don't know, a 20% corporate rate, a 25% pass-through rate. That they would pay for it with a BAT, the Border Adjustment Tax, that they would use dynamic scoring for that as well, and that their use of reconciliation, but having it paid for, they're hoping from a score from the CBO that would be paid for. I'm highly doubtful of that at this point, that would extend the life of it beyond 10 years, making it so-called permanent. But not using, indicating to us that they're not looking for our votes or support, nor are they looking for the support of Democrats in the Senate. And that's troubling. Because I do believe in order to have, to invest in industry, confidence and understanding what the future will be is important. It's as important as in healthcare as anything else. We see the rates of healthcare costs going up because of the lack of confidence in knowing what the future is going to be. The same thing when it comes to tax as well. The businesses, I think you all should be contacting your folks down in Washington saying, if you have any, and saying this needs to be done in a bipartisan way. In '86, it was accomplished because it was done in a bipartisan way, in much the same way that we did immigration reform in the same year with a Republican president. So, Jay, I would just suggest that if it's going to be long-term, if it's going to be really permanent, and that's something that Democrats, if we come in a couple of years and in 4 years if we're in the presidency, that we have a reversal of this, that's not good for business either. Democrats and Republicans both recognize that our tax system is broken. I don't necessarily think that lowering the corporate rate to 15% and simultaneously lowering the pass-through rate to 15% and having three brackets of 35, 25, and 10, what we know about it is going to work. And first of all, I don't think anyone with half a brain who has money, it would be subject to a 35%, you can walk away for a second, 35% rate would not find a vehicle through an LL to pay the 15%.
I already have LLCs.
All right, sorry, man. All right, well. And I love you, so it's a little dim. But at the end, there's a lot going on. In terms of the Republican bill as well, the BAT, we're keeping our powder dry, so to speak. It's terrible for retail. What effect it will have on the dollar. Will it start a trade war? All those things need to be taken into consideration. I think generally Democrats look at VATs or BATs or sales tax on a national level as regressive. But we're technically keeping our powder dry.
Joe, thank you very, very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.